So it's the big day when a man supposedly appointed by God, a proven unrepentant adulterer who only married his first wife to produce heirs, wears fancy dress and has a crown worth around £2.5 million put on his head, a ring on his finger, and gets doused with some magic chip oil. All this done by another man in fancy dress, surrounded by a cult of fawning, unquestioning believers, in a ceremony watched by millions of people who've been told this is normal behaviour. And in a nod to North Korea, China, and Russia, we're all being asked to swear allegiance by saying, I swear that I will pay true allegiance to your majesty and to your heirs and successors according to law, so help me God. According to law? What law is that then? Not believing in the monarchy or God, I have a problem doing this. Although I did swear when I found out Andrew is still an heir to the throne, albeit only eighth in line. No sweat though, eh? It should be Charles swearing allegiance to us, not the other way round. Bleeding hell, they'll make it compulsory to have a portrait of him in our homes next. Leading up to it, I've had all these appear on my Facebook feed, and let's face it, I'm not their target audience, so at least someone's profiting. So what's my problem with the royal family? Well, firstly, they're unaccountable. Charlie could be the worst monarch ever, but he'll still be kept on as king. In fact, whatever he does, right or wrong, will be said to be brilliant. They're unelected. These people have immense power and wealth simply because of an accident of birth. It all dates back hundreds of years, essentially to when local kings stole land from ordinary people. Eventually, this all came under a single monarchy, and that's where we are today. Their income comes partly from the sovereign grant. This is 15% of the income from the Crown Estate, which is basically a property business that includes hugely expensive London property, a large part of the seabeds around the UK, and even some shopping centres. This was increased to 25% for the financial years 2017-18 and 27 to 27-28 to cover the cost of renovating Buckingham Palace. Yep, we paid for one of their houses, which they hardly live in, to be repaired. And the real kicker is, even if the Crown Estate's profits fall, the sovereign grant is topped up by the government, so they're guaranteed an income. By us, the sovereign grant for 21 to 22 was £312.7 million. But that's nothing compared to their big sources of income. The Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Cornwall, estates owned by the monarchy, and again going back centuries. Income from them last year was 1.2 billion. Some people call it tradition. I call it outdated and undemocratic. Levelling up, anyone? Oh, and they're exempt from inheritance tax. So Charlie paid no tax on the 652 million he inherited from the Queen. At the current rate of 40%, that's 260 million the taxpayer could have done with. The cost of the coronation was estimated at 100 million, plus the 8 million to put portraits of Charlie into public buildings. But it's now been revealed it will be closer to 250 million, taking security costs into account. £250 million, while food bank usage, poverty, and the cost of living increases. We all know it'll eventually cost more, but we'll never be given the final figure. Makes you proud to be British, doesn't it? With our strong tradition of keeping the elite in place at the expense of the plebs. And again, in true British tradition, information on the monarchy is officially kept secret. They're not subject to freedom of information requests. So if you dare to question anything, like maybe where did the money for Handy Andy's court costs come from? Well, don't. Just accept the situation and trot along like good little boys and girls. And before the usual smart comments of, I bet you're still taking the day off. Of course I am. It's a bank holiday, whatever the reason. The only exciting bit of the day would have been seeing the reaction to protesters with their dangerous blank pieces of paper and Not My King banners. But the government managed to change the law just in time with the King's assent, surprisingly. So now you can be arrested before the event, even if they only think you might get involved. Not so much a democracy, more a royal fiefdom. But the biggest irony is that you won't be able to see the actual moment of coronation because it's sacred and there'll be a screen in place. It's like paying for a cruise and not being allowed off to see the places you visit. This is definitely not my king, and big round hairy sweaty bollocks to the coronation.